Yes, Nachiappan, can we moderate through, I mean, your moderation process? I mean, whoever is raising hands for discussions can be brought in for discussions. Uh,
While that
who
is
is going to
happening,
do that part?
Dr. Chandra, do
Yeah.
you think that post-COVID will be still tough for the smaller players? Already, smaller players is very tough. Only the bigger players will stay in every field. Is it going to be tough for the smaller players? It's going to be only the volume models like Walmart or bigger one. Those people who can supply big volumes only, like the China model, who can do only volume.
Uh,
What is your opinion?
but in my opinion, I mean, it may lead to that. I mean, but you have a lot way to go for that. So it cannot happen overnight. But to me, for the small industries, especially the micro industries, to survive, the cluster approach has to happen to start with for some of those people who find it difficult, because it is very difficult in these testing times, and especially if they have to start from scratch and then go. And this is the and it is the right time, and many of those micro industries may require some kind of a hand holding to enable them to get into forming the clusters. Probably we need to talk to MSME, and how do we go about forming this, like people talking about buyer seller meets and all those things. Sometimes it happens to some of the well established ones, but here we need to come that such a meet can happen, so that some of these small players, if they are a group of congregations, when they come together, they have to be facilitated. And I think the government definitely need to come proactively to assist some of the micro industries, and our leather and some of the small product manufacturers do have, fall in that category, yes. And if they are not supported, it's going to be the survival of the fittest, where slowly, some of these people might fade, and leading to, some of the successful ones consolidating themselves. Even for them to consolidate, there has to be joint ventures and other things. Otherwise, it is going to be difficult, because the resources are not going to be available immediately for anybody, leave alone for us, even for the international. This in such a scenario, we have a vast technological resources with us. In my opinion, the knowledge resource is fully available with us, along with our own indigenous material. So when we are, successful in complementing in those resources, I think we should attract, some of these FDIs and joint ventures to work with us. Yeah.
Yeah, sir, we have Buddhadev Chattopadhyay he has raised his hand. So probably,
Yes.
sir, Buddhadev, can you please ask the question now to sir?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, we can hear you.
Okay. So I would like to just congratulate for this particular event, which is a memorable one. I have some observation. Dr. Prasada Rao has mentioned about the optimization, and we know from our very old days that over processing in leather is as bad as under processing. So therefore, there are need for optimization, but at the same time, we have to remember that we should not cut the time where it is not essential. For example, chrome tanning, if we talk about that, chrome tanning is a slow process of reaction between carboxylate group and the chromium. So therefore, our whole practice was to keep it for aging for some time, and now it is hardly followed in many of the cases. My second point is, we as a whole of leather industry are too much fragmented. We have a group of tanners, we have a group of footwear, we have an association of leather products, we have an association for upholstery, and as a result, there are a conflict of interest, and also quid pro quo goes in between. And these gaps are often utilized profitably by our regulatory agencies of the government. We must have a common encapsulated a common forum which talks about everything together and place it before the government. The third point is, earlier, tannery was enjoying a major role in export share, but now tannery is merely a member of the supply chain of the exporters in various products and the footwear, etc. Therefore, the tannery's views are not very well supplemented or well focused by the government. My another humble submission to the August gathering is, let us also concentrate on the specialized items to manufacture where we can do some work and something we can get a better market with a higher price. For example, take for example the glove for cold countries. Okay, we need to develop a glove which will work on the smartphone even when the gloves are on. Now, the pressure point is not the pressure point through which the smartphone operates, but it operates through electrical impulses from the fingertip. The conventional leather manufacturing process, the leathers are acting as an insulator to electricity. And therefore, if we can make up a glove which is producing as a conductor and it can work in the cold countries, the smartphone can be used with these gloves, that way we can get a better price. The same is the case with the aviation upholstery, because we know that the textile upholsteries, the whole aeroplane has to be changed within a fortnight. In that case, the leather upholstery specialized for aviation that is free from fog and fire resistant will also fetch a better value and better market. With these things in my mind, I would like to thank again for expressing my views, though it may it may appear to be very harsh, because I talked about the fragmentation in our leather industry. This is only because if we look at the steel industry and others, or the auto sector, for example, auto has ancillary units, but the auto ancillary unit and automobile factory do not represent the government in a separate forum. They represent as a whole of auto industry. And that's the point, because I have seen these things are happening in DIPP when I was a member of the core committee of DIPP. There are conflicting ideas are coming to the government and not in coaxial with each other. And that is hampering much. That's my view. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And true to the democratic nature of the country, and there are, several forums, who are there. Obviously, this, but let me tell you, the Council for Leather Exports represents, the overall industries. I do agree in many of the DIPP forums. Yes, there are, difference of opinion arising out, and even in the cases where, like, let me tell you, the finished leather, the norms, the revision, this, there are difference of opinion from different, sectors. While leather's product sector asking, it to be more stringent, whereas my tanning sector would ask it to be very liberal. So this would happen, but at the same time, the government is there to take a balanced view or the realistic view of, the impact of each of the industry and how, it matters. As you rightly said, yes, once it was purely a leather manufacturing hub, whatever, India was. But after the post 80s, and slowly we have become, more of a product oriented. And now today, more than 75 to 80% of our exports are now products. So obviously, the government has to devise policies and measures which now gives the employability opportunity has gone now about 20 to 30 fold increase from a typical leather intensive workforce. So obviously the government has to look at various views by which, it can look at both in terms of economical, in terms of export revenues, in terms of societal benefits, the employability, that would go with it. So I'm sure the government, though there are different views, the government is well advised to take positive steps in the right directions. Thank you. Now, is there any other member asking
Yes, sir.
for?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We have Mr. Pandey, who's also raised his hand for the questions. Mr. Pandey, please.
No, just I want to add points to the Dr. Chandrasekhar view. What a government can play a role. One of the aspect we need to look at is the integration. For a long time, our industry remains as exporter of commodities or components. We have a strong, we are strongly equipped to export leather, different leather products, different leather articles, many types of leathers. On the other hand, we are exporting for long-term shoe uppers. When it comes to the marketable, completely merchandised, marketable products, is very, very few. At this point, it is more important that the integration takes place to combine all our strength in leather, in the design strength, in
Yes.
manufacturing strength. This is our strong. These are all our strongest area. In the making, the finishing of the shoes or the bags or whatever we have the product side. Of course, there are missing areas in terms of, let's say, design, to some extent product development, to large extent merchandising and marketing. But if only we are able to fulfill these areas, our industry will become a complete industry, like we become a leader rather than at the moment we remain as a cheap source of labor for the different brands or whomever you are doing our business associates. I have a strong feeling that we miss this. In other words, we lose the confidence that these areas can be filled in. Certain areas we need to really think completely out of the box. For example, before this session, like Mr. VRS, I also had a discussion with a few of my friends to take their opinion about this particular session. And commonly the view was, it is not for us. We are a small scale industry. What we can do on innovation? Do you know the cost involved? What it's going to lead? But on the way I was thinking was different. The cost, we have been suppressed with this perception of cost all these years. As I told you also a little before, we have been chasing on the cost. But the latest, our current learning shows that the perception has to completely change in the way we see the cost. Cost and quality has got a direct correlation. When the quality increases, the cost is going to increase, the quantity is going to decrease. At the end, it is going to amortize itself. The equation is the same. Rather than chasing a low quality, producing a completely environmental damaging goods, health hazardous goods, we can rather step backwards and produce the better quality products, which has got a long durability. This is one of my, in fact, the small scale industry and innovation, we always say there's a mismatch. It's not for us. I have a live example in our own Ranipet town. One industry has produced a vegetable-based oil tan leather. The leather is called Tucson. Many of us may be knowing in the forum, these overseas leathers. This leather he produced, and it's a definitely, I would call it like an innovation. And this is doing around for last 7, 8 years. Very successful product, consumed by all the brands all over the world. And this is a lead. even the Italian or any other tenders fail to follow this. So I just want to advocate, don't be discouraged that innovation is not for small scale industry. Just I want to add this at this point. Thank you.
I request the participants to be as short as possible with their answers. Over to Dr. Chandrasekharan. We have Krishnamurthy Venkatraman, who's also asking questions. We are unmuting him.
Yes, yes.
Hello.
Yes, Mr. Krishnamurthy.
Hello, Krishnamurthy.
Yes, yes, we can hear you.
I want to make some observations. With lots of companies moving out of China now due to a political problem or trust issues. Hello.
Yeah.
We
Hello.
can hear
Yeah,
you.
you are audible. You are audible, Mr. Krishnamurthy.
Yeah,
We are
with
able
lots
to
of
hear you.
companies moving out of China because of political problems or trust issues, it is advantageous to India. And so I feel that the innovations must be really drastic. The improvements or something must be really drastic. And one more observation is regarding in the leather goods industry. One of our alumni, Mr. K.R. Murali of Boston, used to say that we are not able to produce leather goods for ladies because we don't have sources of accessories, because these accessories change very often. So by the time we import from China or somewhere, the fashion changes. So this is another area where we must also make some improvements. Thanks a lot.
Yes, definitely. I mean, but it takes time for any disinvestment from China to come here. Obviously, but that's the reason, exactly the reason why what we said, the FDIs, we need to have a policy of inviting many of them, whether it is in the form of joint ventures, preferably if it is in the joint venture form, it will be good. And there are several other policies, yes, obviously one has to look at. And before all these things, we need to create that ambience of having or producing, materials that is required to meet the international quality, whether in terms of, environmental preparedness and our own ambience in the factories, the minimal social requirements that are essential for safety and other things. So there are several measures, we need to look at for inviting or encouraging FDIs to come over to us. Yes, Mr. Srinivasan, yeah.
Vasanthul, please.
Yeah, yes. Okay. First of all, thank you, everybody. It was a very good session, and then everybody have given their best part to make the session interesting. And my point is this: we all talk about innovation. So now the main thing is that to make the innovation possible, we should bring in every aspect of our product industry together. Now, when the discussion happens over here, we feel okay. It's not only leather; it is also the bag industry, it is the footwear industry, it is the garment industry, it is the glove industry. That is happening from India. Now, when all these are collectively coming together, there are a lot of voices that can come in from Calcutta, because what is happening is that the bag industry in Calcutta is much ahead of the bag industry in Chennai. Okay. At the same time, the footwear industry in Chennai is much ahead of Agra, but Agra is making some special quality footwear which Chennai is not producing. So there's a lot of mix and match that is happening in India. It is the best way to bring the NIFT and the FDDA to come into better participation to create the best design development. Mr. Arvindan, my very good friend, is there in the forum here today, and they should make the FDDA boys and girls to become more innovative. How they can become innovative is that they should be allowed to get more exposure of the international markets and designs to make their own ideas, by which they can make certain alterations and then bring out their own designs which can come into the market. This designing is very, very important. Second important point I would like to make is about the readiness to take up any particular job in our country is a big problem. So we all should come out with together to make that possible. For example, a particular product that has come from Italy has been ruling the market for the past 8 years, and nobody could even in Italy, they could not find a separate suitable product or substituting that particular product. Now, last week in China, I find the same product is already in the market, and China is selling their product at a much reduced price than the Italian price. So now this is going to rule the market because the Italian will lose its ground. Though they are holding it for the last 8 years, nobody could copy it. Same way, Indian brains are much smarter. We are having people who are really stalwarts, and we are having such great people in India. And we should allow the next BTechs and MTech people who are coming out should have their own ideas, not to bring them into the same monotonous system of working by which following the same system what we are working now. Allow them to have more free ideas, to be more innovative. At least the industry could do better. This is my idea. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And this is for your information. We have started an innovation, a startup club. Actually, the Department of Leather Technology has started. And there are now young entrepreneurs who would be passing out, have their ideas, to work in terms of a small group, how some of them to be taken in case if it is found acceptable to take it to a commercial level and those kind of things. So that exercise has already started. Thank you for giving your valuable comments. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Prasanna, sir.
Good afternoon to all of you. First of all, let me congratulate the team iSquare webinar, and they are actually making people like us sleepless by their sleepless work, and so the entire unseen catalyst behind this iSquare webinar team is our President Alpha. So congratulations to him also. And I wish to congratulate all the 4 speakers for an excellent presentation. Here is one to Mr. Prasad Rao. Mr. Prasad Rao will sure remember the liquid Sintans, Tergotans of Sandoz, which used to be liquid. And similarly, the Lugolin dyes used to be in a liquid form. But the chemical engineering, like Dr. Chandru rightly said, the chemical engineering aspect has to be worked out. This is number 1. Number 2, again in liming, in the beam house, I find the beam house is kind of a taken for granted affair. We in an informal way, we discuss in Alpha how to reduce the growth marks in the Buffalo Heights of Kanpur. So this has to be worked on along with CLRI. A few of the members mentioned about machinery and the components for the leather goods industry. Alongside making the leather goods, why not the entrepreneurs themselves put their minds on it and work towards the components is my question. This is where I think CLRI can, but we used to have machinery in the 70s and 80s designed from CLRI and made by some people in Kolhapur. Why not we revisit them? And one last point. Mr. Ravi mentioned about a presentation of the goods to the foreign buyer. There is a lot of scope for improving the presentation to the advantage of the consumer. These are the few points which I would like to be mulled over.
Thank you, sir. Yes, definitely. I still remember, our the so-called, prototypes of, some of the machines going all around, all over India. In fact, Let me tell you, I mean, MSME had set up, I mean, a PTDC, the Prototype Development Center in Chennai for exclusively for leather machineries. But it served for nearly about 30 or 40 years. But now almost last 10 years, and you would have seen, and there are of course several other players who have come in and other things. I think they have let the machinery manufacturing industries here more of a what do you call trading body, like they trade only machines from Italy or from China and Taiwan, especially the sewing machines and several of the other skiving and many machines that goes for footwear and leather goods. But in my opinion, this is what I'm saying. The positive things that can happen is, in case if these are the investments of European investments in China making these products, there could be opportunity to make these machineries in India. So we need to really look at it, and this is where council has to raise. It is not just for leather and products, and as it was rightly said, the leather machinery also needs to be looked at, and we need to look for FDIs, especially coming in for machineries and component manufacturing back to India. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Ganesh Kumar.
Yeah, good evening. Hope you can hear me.
Yes, we
Yes.
can hear you.
Yeah, it was very good, presentation and very useful afternoon spent instead of, having a nap. Now, see, there are a couple of points based on the presentations made by Raja Srinivasan, Pandi and Ravi. See, currently, we see a lot of the international brands specifying certain type of leathers to be imported from specific sources for the products. I think this would possibly take a change in the current scenario. And for some reason or the other, there has been some inhibition in using the Indian cow raw material. I don't want to go into the details. I think all of us know the reasons. I think we should try to get over this. And the leathers which are mostly, specified by these brands, I'm talking with my experience with the footwear brands, are all bovine, which are, higher thicknesses, made from South American or any other, imported origins. So that is one big scope which we have. And then Dr. Sriram and Pandya were telling about keeping the surfaces of leather and leather products free from this virus, because I think once we all come out of the lockdown and reopen, the next big thing which is going to happen is how we are going to keep the various surfaces free from this virus, or use some products which can, kill these viruses, so that, the spreading is not there, which is going to be an important factor. In this connection, I would like to mention that, we are working with one product from UK, which we have been so far using as an anti-mold and antibacterial on leather products. Now, that particular company is now trying to extend this to see if it could also help this particular objective of spraying on the surfaces to keep it away from this virus. So when the sample comes in, I would be happy to, share this with the CLRA as well as with some of the product manufacturers and tanneries to see it on trials and see if it works and helps the entire community. Now, Ravi was, mentioning about improving the pattern engineering skills and these aspects of our manpower. Here, I would like to really, request CLRA and other institutes to see if the graduates, the undergraduates who are coming out, are also much more stronger in their curriculum regarding PED, that is the product engineering department. See, now we can see that the BTechs who are coming out of these institutes are employed not only by tanneries and chemical companies, they are also employed by product companies. So I think a little more exposure to the CAD and PED sort of the curriculum will be definitely useful, because I find most of them are not trying to come and learn this in the on the work kind of a thing. I think some exposure during college days would be definitely useful to them. And in addition, I think with the retail business going to be strong in the future, some exposure in terms of costing modules for export business, costing modules for import for the domestic industry, and the retail management would, I think, be very interesting to make the course appeal to all. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ganesh. I think, in the last, 3 or 4 years, we have revised our syllabus. Now our students are exposed to about 25% of leather products, footwear and goods and garments, their design and production techniques and all, practically as well, not just theory part alone, even in practical, this. So this has been discussed with the industry's request. We have changed the syllabus. This is for your information. Yeah, thank you.
Next, we have Mr. Aravindan. Mr. Aravindan, please.
Yeah, hello. Very good evening to all of you. Am I audible?
Yes.
Hello.
Yes,
Yes, you are audible, please.
First of all, hearty congratulations to CLRA on this Foundation Day seminar special webinar. And kudos to all the organizers for organizing this wonderful interaction among the stakeholders. I just would like to quickly touch upon one point raised by the panelists as well as the Mr. Srinivasan regarding design. We think we are weak in design. I don't think we are weak in design. Both FDDA, CLRA and NIFT, even CFTI, we have been servicing to the industry for the past 3 decades. And the problem is we have started realizing the importance of design only for the past 5 to 10 years. Before that, and another major issue is we are all the major producers, mass producers of the foreign designs. We don't create the designs here in the industry. We just simply produce the designs and market the designs and export the designs. When we have started realizing creating our own designs and market it in our own label, that time only we can estimate or we can assess the real capability of Indian designers. I'm not talking on behalf of NIFT or any other institution. I'm just putting the perspective of the way we have understood the capability of Indian designers. And coming to the scope of the designers in the industry, of course, we have a wonderful curriculum. We have recently revamped the entire curriculum to suit more to the design requirements of the industry. But unfortunately, the problem is, what is the scope for these designers in the industry? To what extent we allow them to explore and do the R&D work? That is still a very big question mark. Most of our designers they are expected to do patterns instead of creating real designs. Or most of the, many times they are asked to do some alterations, minor variations of the designs given by the clients. This is the real situation, real scenario. And I would like to also add one more point. We should have a strong industry institutional collaborations. Like if you see Italy and other countries where the design the creators are there, the institutions, the students are developing the designs in the institute, and they are realizing those designs in a commercial way with the great support of the industries. All the designs are given to the industry, and the industry takes a responsibility to commercialize, and they also recognize the commercial viability of the designs and they give the constructive feedback to the students and the academia. This is lacking in our country. This gap has to be addressed. Another thing is we should have a synergy among all the institutions giving this HR resources to the Indian leather products and leather industries. And we are also working out closely with FDDA and the CLRA and the NID. We have a lot of MOUs happening. We are ready to ask on behalf of NIFT from Department of Leather Design. I assure we will take up all the challenges raised due to COVID in terms of innovation and design, and we will definitely support the industries, and we are ready to cooperate and give our services to the industry and the fellow peer institutions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Aravindan.
I have a meeting. Sorry, sir. 4 o'clock. I have another meeting. Please forgive me. I'll take a leave. Thank you so much.
Yeah, fine. Thank you.
Mr. N.R. Jagannathan, sir, please.
Yes.
You can make it very short because we are running short of time, please.
Now, reacting to Raj, am I audible, please?
Yes.
Yes, sir, you're audible.
Yeah, reacting to Raja's idea, I think why not we now think on this process industry from wet blue to finishing. Why should the tanner stock all the chemicals that he wants to finish the leather, why not he entertain a sort of understanding with the chemical companies that they bring the chemical, finish it, take back the chemicals, they charge whatever the charges plus extra. This way, even if you pay a little bit of extra, you don't need to carry huge inventory. Your space is saved, your finance cost is saved, interest on these chemicals is saved. All that you are going to do is a minimal high cost to the chemical manufacturer. Can this be, this I think is a radical change. Maybe this innovation could start something different in this industry, number one. Number two, reacting to my friend Ravi. Now we are exporting a lot of leather goods, and as he rightly said that we are weak in presenting our products. Okay, the product maybe is very good, but we are not able to give it the way the customer wants it, which only the Americans, Europeans, and all the other people know how to do it. Now, why not we sell these products to them without the packages? That we have a beautiful industry in Tirupur where a lot of apparels are going on, textiles. So you take bags to put your product and just give it as it is to the importer. Let him pack it at his own factory, or let him do whatever he wants. Let him present it the way he wants it, especially the brand one. Because the product cost is, if we say 1,000 rupees ex India, the selling cost abroad is more than 70,000 rupees. The entire thing goes for the product presentation and the royalty. So why we should lose this profitability? Why we unnecessarily incur money on the packaging? Let him do it. This is number two. Number three, Suri has rightly said about the innovation, designing. But I want to tell him that, yes, every year we see in the DGT or in the leather fair, best shoe factory, best design shoes and leather goods are being awarded. Now, these are to be taken world over and promote our product. And the way it can be done is that every time we go abroad for any fair, maybe Hong Kong or Shanghai or Milan or Bologna or Miami, wherever we go, we have to send these people. Their job is only to go, not to sell or not to do anything. Their job is to have a wide open eyes, go through all the stock, find out what is happening in the industry, what is happening in the world, and bring back ideas and try to do it here with a much more sophistication. I think I want to share these things with you.
Okay, right, sir.
Yeah, we have the final question from Mr. Raja Srinivasan.
Question இல்ல சொன்னா.
Okay, sir.
நேர்ல தான் எல்லாரையும் பார்க்க முடியல. இங்க வந்து வீடியோ ஆப்ஷன் இருக்கு. எல்லாரும் வீடியோ ஆஃப் பண்ணிட்டு உட்கார்ந்து இப்போது அட்லீஸ்ட் முடிக்கிற போது எல்லாரும் வீடியோ ஆன் பண்ணா பார்க்கலாம். கணேஷ் குமார்லாம் பார்த்து ரொம்ப நாள் ஆச்சு. யாராருனால வீடியோ ஆன் பண்ண முடியுமோ வீடியோ ஆன் பண்ணுங்க. நான் வெறும் இப்ப ஏதோ வாலை பார்த்து பேசுற மாதிரி இருக்கு. இப்ப முடிக்கிற போது எல்லாரும் ஒரு வீடியோ ஆன் பண்ணீங்கன்னா அட்லீஸ்ட் ஒரு பார்த்து ஒரு சந்தோஷம் இருக்கும் எல்லாரும் நேர்ல.
இல்ல ராஜா, there are several people who foresee net congestion if they open the video. That's why we have requested many of them when they discuss, just to discuss on with a volume alone, so that net congestion may not happen over the meeting.
இப்பதான் மீட்டிங் முடிச்சிட்டோம்ல, இல்ல நிறைய
that's fine.
ஆமா, இப்போ at least we can, if whoever can open it, at least we can see their faces. என்ன சொல்றேன், it's okay, நம்ம எல்லாரையும் பார்க்க முடியும். In fact, some of the meetings happen with even 200 people. வீடியோ ஓபன் பண்ணாலும் அந்த இது அவ்வளவு பாதிக்காது.
எல்லாரையும் ஜூம் பண்ணுமா, எல்லாரையும் ஒரு ஜூம் பண்ணு, சரியா போய்டும்.
That's very true, sir. What actually happens is sometimes with more videos, the bandwidth will be lower. So that's one reason why we generally ask people not to go with the video. But now, as Mr. Raja Srinivasan has said, all those who can please come on the video, please.
பேசும்போது கூட வீடியோ ஆன் பண்ண மாட்டேங்கறாங்க. பேசும்போது தான் ஆன் பண்ணலாம்.
Yeah.
Very
true,
sir. Very true. Very true.
So
now I would request Mr. I should thank Dr. Chandrasekharan and
he has not reacted to my question.
Mr. Raja Srinivasan.
Sir. Enna? No.
You have not reacted to me.
Oh, oh.
On what, sir?
Dr. Chandrasekharan.
Sir, I mean, especially when somebody talks about India, we don't design. And I mean, it is nothing. I mean, what we say is, it's about for the 30 years, we've been designing also. The design to come out as a commercial product, beyond that, there is a marketing and other things are there, brand and so many other things. So it is not possible for the so-called, I mean, a student who has designed his product, so immediately that has to find, I mean, an acceptability in the market. It has a long way to go. In fact, Government of India now tries to promote in 3 Indian brands to go globally, for which, I mean, they are trying to give some funds by which, I mean, they can go global. So it is so difficult to penetrate into the global market with our design, with our own brands. So it's altogether a different ball game. So that is where we are missing. We don't lack in our what you call capability of designing. Definitely, I mean, it is on the other side of creating brand and marketing the brand. That is where, I mean, we lack, and that is beyond individuals' comprehension. And we need to really look at, because government is also trying to create some policies by which many of these things, I mean, go. Yes, sir.